Hello. Yes, as you can see, it's dry. Been dry now for 2 days. We've had sunshine 2 days running, and it's sunshining. Well, it's a little bit out there. It is out there, but it's dry. And I thought I'd take this opportunity to once again pause for thought, because the last couple of weeks it's been pretty dire, hasn't it? Well, it has in this country anyway. We've had rain and rain and rain, and everywhere is a pretty hard slog. Even through the woods now, to put one foot in front of the other is quite an effort in places. But I thought I'd share with you this morning some thoughts that I shared last night on Zoom on our devotion. So there will be about 15 of you who have already heard this, but I thought it was worthwhile letting the wider audience hear what I have to say. I started last night with the readings from Luke chapter 15. So if any of you got it, you can read it. But it was, of course, the stories that Jesus told, because there were people grumbling because he was sitting around whining and dining with with the people they called sinners, who weren't even worth talking about, or you should not be associated with. But Jesus was sitting and whining and dining and talking to them. But he got wind of what these other people were saying. He got wind of these so-called religious people who were saying he shouldn't be doing that. And he told these three stories, three, I suppose, parables we call them, but they are stories. And one was about the lost sheep, how the shepherd went out, one of the sheep went missing, and the shepherd goes out and hunts for it, leaves the others in the pen, leaves the others, and comes and goes looking for this one lost sheep. And he finds it, and when he comes back, there's great celebrations. He enjoys it. He's so full of it that he's found this sheep that is lost, and he calls all his friends and neighbours, and they have a bit of a celebration about it. And then it goes on, and there's another story about this little lady who lost a coin in the house somewhere, and she hunted high and low and searched every nook and cranny to find it. And when she found it, she got straight on to her neighbours, and they had a real celebration. And then, of course, he tells the story of what we know as the prodigal son, the son who went off and spent his inheritance on all sorts of things, and suddenly he found himself destitute, and there was a famine, and everything went wrong for him, and he decided to go home. And he was expecting to be really, he expected his dad to really slap him round the face and say, "What do you think you're doing, coming back here like this?" But instead, the dad saw him coming in the distance, and he went running off, and he hugged him and kissed him, and he called his servants and said, "Come on, get out all the fine clothes for him, put the family ring on his finger and the sandals on his feet, and go and get the ox and we'll have a roast ox, and we'll have a barbecue and a real celebration party." And he did, and they had all this wonderful party, a celebration for the son that has gone missing, thought lost, thought even dead, and he came back, and he was so much enjoyed it that's what Jesus said. He wanted everybody to know that's just how God feels when someone comes back to him, when someone says, "Hey Lord, I'm sorry, forgive me." Actually, the son never had a chance to really say all those things, although Jesus said he did. But I should imagine that the dad was so excited to have him back, and that's just how God is with you and I. But then I went on to illustrate how I came a couple of weeks ago walking. It was really cold, so got my gloves on, and when I got home and host hurried down because he got so muddy, And the next day when I went out to go for a walk, I could only find one glove. That's all. I could just find the one glove. Hunted high and low, couldn't find it. I backtracked that day on all where I'd been with Harry the day before, but no, there was no sign of the glove. Got back home, had another hunt, pulled the chairs out here, there and everywhere, checked every pocket in all my coats in case I'd forgotten what coat I was wearing, but could I find that one glove? No. Went out the next day, and as I was walking along, there in a hawthorn bush on the footpath was hanging this glove. And I was so excited, you know what I did? I got out my mobile phone and I phoned Jenny up. I said, guess what? Guess what? She said, what? What's happened? What's happened? I said, I found my glove. I was so excited. I can imagine that the shepherd, if he'd had in Jesus' day, if he'd had a mobile phone, that's exactly what he would have done. That's exactly what the little old lady who'd lost a coin would have done. And the father would have rung round all his friends and on his mobile and said, come on, we're going to have a party. It's exciting when you find something lost. But you know, there's more to that than just this glove. I was illustrating last night just how warm God's love is for each one of us. Yeah, we can wear gloves and we can wear coats and hats and to make ourselves feel warm. But inside we can still feel cold sometimes. And in actual fact, in this last year and in this year at the moment, we do really feel sometimes a bit depressed and a bit cold inside because things don't look good. There's still friends who are suffering with this virus. There's people dying, friends dying through this virus. There's all sorts of horrible things going on. But we need to hang on to that image of that image of God that we see in Jesus, because he is our warmth. He is the warmth of us inside, and he will give us those warm feelings. Last night Jenny and I watched some of nature programs, and I suddenly realized we get so flooded out with bad news, but all our news doesn't seem to be good, does it? And when we see the wonder in this world that's going on around us, we need to recognize that God's creation for us is that something so wonderful. It warms the heart when you see these things. And yeah, there are things that we need to be considering, but I just wanted you to know the wonder and the feeling of God's love. And if you lose something and you find it again, that's worthwhile saying thank you. Thank you. Believe me, you wouldn't believe me, but I did actually say one or two prayers for this somewhat normal glove, and I found it. So I just want you to know that if you want to find God, if you want God in your life, if you want to have Jesus walking beside you like he walks beside me, then you just need to say, hey, I am here. Let me find you, find me. Let me find you in my life. Let me find you wherever I am. And he will let you know. He will give you a little nudge and say, I'm here. I'm here. I love you. I'll keep you warm. God bless.